Just a minute. Is it live now? Okay. My
Yes.
dear viewers from across India and those who are watching this spectacular show of Education Pe Charcha on Shastrartha, I welcome you all today for a spectacular session. As you all know that we have been inviting the distinguished people from myriad field of specialization, and today, of course, in the series of such invitation, we have got an esteemed academician, the Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab, that is, Shri Dr. Shri Deepak Kumar Behera Sahab. Now, before I just go further, I would like to tell you that today it is going to be a very scintillating discussion, a holistic discussion based on new education policy of 2020 of the government of India, which it has already been unveiled. Before that, I would like to tell you, my dear viewers, that while this very model of pedagogy, or you can say education policy, was about to be unveiled, or it was in the process of being process of conception or conceptualization, I was invited by Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh for a session on education, for a brainstorming session. And I basically, when I was asked to speak on that in the presence of galaxy of vice chancellors, education minister, I contributed my own thought, and I would like to share with you in just 1 or 2 minutes a few of the facts which has always punched me, especially pertaining to the historical distortion of something some important facts. And I would like to cite you in that very context, that how the role of Gadar movement has been miniaturized, or it has been obliterated from the syllabus. That is Red Fort trial of Azad Hind Fauj, you don't find mention of this fact anywhere. Gadar movement's leader, Lala Hardyal's name, I am sure most of the students would not be able to recognize, would not be able to instantly recognize or know him. Such a great contribution from Lala Hardyal. And let me tell you, my dear viewers, today, that just in course of my pursuit of a very important autobiography of the greatest living politician of India today, Sri Lal Krishna Advani ji, that is My Country, My Life, I came across the solitary mistake in that book that is pertaining to the name of Lala Hardyal ji. The mistake is Lala Lajpat Rai was written in place of Lala Hardyal ji. I sent my message to Sri Surendra Kulkarni ji, the advisor to Sri Bajpayee and Sri Advani ji, and he will look into that, for that very correction. And one more important fact that really pained me a lot, in course of one of my speeches in DAB school, when I referred to the name of Nachiketa, and I instantly checked with the students whether they were familiar with the prodigious name of the great character of Upanishad. To my utter horror, I would say that none of the students confessed to have known such an important character, that is Nachiketa of our Upanishad. I was also extremely taken aback and disappointed by the lack of familiarity of our own children with such a great name called Nachiketa. These were the few important suggestions which I had articulated in course of that particular seminar, where I felt and that all these important facts should be corrected or should be incorporated in our new education policy in the subject history or mythology history. One more thing I would like to tell you, my dear viewers, there have been some lacunae, because I would like to quote an instance which I quoted in the very important book I wrote, that is Making of Narendra Modi and Making of Jawaharlal, where this particular instance has been incorporated. It is the first book written in the Republic in the wake of abrogation of Article 370 of Indian Constitution, that one of the Padma Shri awardees, that is, Sri Behrampur, he had discussed about an instance where he was invited by, the then historians for a historical brainstorming, and he was asked as one of the historians to write that temples basically were the storehouse of treasure, and that was the reason for its depredations by all the marauders. Behrampur was taken aback. He said that this is not the fact. The fact is something else. Then he was directed that, you have to write the way we are saying, because otherwise it would, we would produce an aggressive generation, which is not required. So many historical anomalies which have been taken care of or not. How education syllabus or, this new education policy has actually or tangibly taken a shape. All that we are going to learn from today's expert, that is Professor, Shri Deepak Kumar Behera Sahab, only man in the country, only professor in the country who, despite being an anthropologist, despite having pursued anthropology, he has become the vice chancellor of 4 universities, a man of distinction, a man of letters. We welcome Shri Dr. Shri Deepak Behera Sahab, but little bit of introduction of Shri Deepak Behera Sahab is very much required, because otherwise it would not be, proper to call him. Little bit of introduction from Shri Deepak Kumar Behera Sahab becomes all the more important. My dear students, viewers, Sri Deepak Kumar Behera is correctly the Vice Chancellor of KISS, that is Kalinga Institute of Social Science, a deemed university. And given the speciality of this university, it's all its peculiar features, definitely I would like a while later our honorable guest today, Dr. Sri Behera Sahab, to throw more light on it. Now, he's also the former Vice Chancellor of Sambalpur University, Rajendra University, and Behrampur University. He is the person instrumental behind making, the state for the university, that is Behrampur University, to secure A grade by NAT, that is National Association of Accreditation Council. This is the, he was instrumental behind its elevation to the grade A. And most importantly, he has a tremendous, huge credentials to his credit. He had visited 30 universities across the world. So you can well understand the overall distinction in terms of academic excellence that he personifies or he epitomizes. Next, there are so many, details. He has contributed articles in hundreds of journals, papers, and all that. He's associated with so many different, universities in America, Germany, and in so many, so on and so forth. He has a huge credentials, and it would not be proper, because if I go on narrating about the profile, possibly it would take huge time. I am straightway coming to the, for an interaction, very, very engrossing interaction with Professor Dr. Sri Deepak Behera Sahab. Now it is time, sir. Now I would like you to introduce yourself, to talk about the Institute of Excellence that you are presiding over in the capacity of a Vice Chancellor, especially meant for the tribal students, how it caters to, with all sorts of modern facilities, tools, gadgets. It is your turn, sir. Please, I invite Dr. Sri Deepak Behera Sahab to come and introduce himself. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Vivekanand ji. It's my pleasure and honor to be, here in this platform, and I am the Vice Chancellor of Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences. It's deemed to be university, and we only admit tribal students from KG to PhD, and it's a residential school. Education is free here, so we provide them free lodge and board, also healthcare facilities, and we provide them their clothing and everything. Everything is free here. And they come from different remote pockets of Odisha, tribal Odisha. Odisha has 62 tribal communities, and out of which 13 have been identified as PVTG, particularly vulnerable tribal group, where the population growth is almost nil, and where they live in remote areas. So we have students from all these 62 tribal communities and also from the neighboring state. And we have also tribal students from the PVTG. So we we have a KISS model of holistic tribal education, where we try to skill them at different level, at the school level, at the secondary level, at the graduation level, post-graduation level. And linking to that, we have also a KISS model of holistic, sustainable tribal development, because it's not easy to provide, employment to all these 30,000 children. So maybe 5% are employable and will get employment. What about the remaining 95%? So we are trying to develop a case model of holistic, sustainable development where, we'll skill our student in such a way. And when they go back to their area, they will, revitalize their own ethnic tradition. And there they will, start some startup, taking into account their natural resources and traditional occupation, using traditional institution. And in the process, not only they will be entrepreneur, they can also bring other, people, other young people to their fold. And that is how they will go as our brand ambassador and, spread there the good gospel of the institution keys. This is the whole idea. And also there would, we have like the forward backward linkage, how, the indigenous ethnic products will be marketed. We are trying to take them to the, international platform, and where this ethnic product will be, there is heavy demand. So we are trying to promote our tribal children, Adivasis of Orissa, so that their hidden talent and their potentiality be utilized, and they should occupy a place at the center stage of global platform. And this is our model. And the other question you may ask, how do you get, sir, so much of money? We never get, overseas funding. We have two other sister institutions like Kalinga Institute of, Information and Technology. One is KIT, the other one is KIMS. So those are technical institutions, and our founder of the three institutions, Dr. Achyut Samant, and what he does, he allocate greater amount of the revenue generated from KIT and KIMS to KIS. And that is how the KIS institution has been there since 1992-93. Now we have 30,000 children in our campus, and you are all welcome to visit our campus once the pandemic is over.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And my dear viewers, I would like to share with you, because what Honorable Professor Saab, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Shri Deepak Behera ji has just informed us, it has come to me as a revelation. I recall, rather correlate, two of our distinguished, honored guests here on the same platform, that is Education Pe Charcha on Shastrartha. And let me share with you, my dear viewers, in collaboration with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Institute of Social Science, the University of Social Science, in the august presence of Dr. Surendra Pathak ji, we have been conducting this great program, spectacular program. So two of the stalwarts whom we invited, they already informed us the modus operandi of Netherhart Residential School, and how it functions. But today, when what just now our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab has said, indeed it has come to me as a revelation. See what sort of social objective, the great altruistic mission that this particular university is catering to. Really, we hats off to this institute. Sir, I am just coming to a very important question now, because you already, said your thought, your holistic views on how institute is functioning. I am just coming to the very next important question, especially from the perspective of sustainable development. You already threw some light on it. Now, next question is very important. You claim to be the only anthropologist to have become the Vice Chancellor of 4 universities. Only, again, to reiterate, my dear viewers, only you can see our honored guest, the only Vice Chancellor in the country, who hails from anthropology background, yet presided over the destinies of 4 universities, a unique distinction to his credit. So how it came about? Your insight into it, please, sir.
Sir, thank you very much. I'm an ordinary person, sir. and I believe in hard work, and nothing happens with the blessing of the Almighty. That's my inner conviction, sir. And because you have asked me how did that happen, first time, when I was enjoying a fellowship, DAD fellowship, I was a guest visiting professor at one university in that is Tübingen University, that is southern part of Germany, and it was a teaching assignment, and suddenly two of my relation, they sent me a piece of paper saying that the Vice Chancellor post of Behrampur University has been advertised. Why don't you take a chance? Then I said them, see, it's not my cup of tea. I'm a teacher, and that's a different ball game. I'm not academic administrator, so that is something beyond my reach. But they went on motivating me because you have got a good CV, probably, this honorable chancellor will select you. And casually I send my CV from Germany, and they submitted it in the university. And then I forgot. Suddenly I received a letter that you have been shortlisted and Honorable Chancellor would like to interact you on 19th. I had to leave Germany on 1st or 2nd of the next month. It was the month of July, and no, I had to leave Germany on 3rd of August, but the date was fixed on 19th of July. Then I wrote, casually. I thought, okay, let me just take a chance. I said, see, sir, it's not possible, but if you give me at least week-long time, I will try to convince the university administration, and if they allow me, I will come, and I would love to interact with you. And suddenly, I don't know how did that happen. And I received a letter, okay, this meeting has been postponed, and probably the Honorable Chancellor wanted to interact with me. And so I convinced them. I covered all my portion. I conducted the exam, and I awarded the grades. And then I handed over the mark sheet, everything. And then my daughter helped me to get a ticket from, from Tübingen to Bhubaneswar with different means. And she said, don't worry, father, I would make all the arrangements. And finally, I landed and I had to go to my university. Then I was serving as a professor in Sambalpur University. And I took the permission of my Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor. And then I came and appeared the interview and interaction. It was an interaction. And probably Honorable Chancellor found me suitable or found something in me. And then he chose me to be the Vice Chancellor of Behrampur University. That is how the ball started rolling, sir. And after 1.5 months, there was a filing. You might have heard the super cyclone. And the eye of the storm landed in Behrampur. And it, impacted all our infrastructure and facilities. So everything got destroyed by filing. And I was literally crying. And I thought that it would be good to leave the university because, I could see very, I was so disappointed because everything was shattered. And then probably I developed a, positive feeling. God has given me an opportunity to rebuild this university. I accepted the challenge, grabbed the opportunity and started working. And the next year again, I took student into confidence. And, in anthropology, you said you have become Vice Chancellor of 4 different university, but this, anthropological knowledge helped me. We believe in collective efforts. We believe in teamwork. We believe in sharing, love, affection. And that is what I shared. And everyone, all stakeholders started cooperating me. And, then the next year again, there was a hudud. Even I faced those 2 natural calamities, and some people, local people, try to create disturbance. Those are, man-made calamities. But I overcome everything, and finally I decided to invite NAC team. And everybody said that could be your academic death. Why are you inviting? I said I like confronting challenges. And then I invited NAC team, and NAC team examined everything. I worked hard, and I received support. And we were the first university. Behrampur University became the first university in the state-funded university to receive A grade. And Vice Chancellor from many other university, Vice Chancellor registered, they came and said, how did you manage? Because at that point of time, no other state-funded university had this A grade. And then I went to Sambalpur and did the same thing. Sambalpur University also got A grade. So I am very lucky to be the Vice Chancellor of 2 A grade university. Then when this new university, Rajendra University started, then the Honorable Chancellor, Ganeshi Lalji, he made me the first Vice Chancellor of also Rajendra University. So this is, I never tried. It all, happened automatically. I'm an ordinary person and I believe in hard work, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir. It is a God's grace. And I tell you, my dear viewers, you must have seen and, must be watching, our honorable guest today. He's a man of gentlemanly bearing, which is very much apparent from his entire body features and entire, his postures and gestures. Obviously, sir, fully in agreement. Of course, it is a divine grace and your hard work, because hard work is key to success. And you are a living testimony of this particular proverb. Thank you, sir. We are coming to the very next question, which is very, very important. You had undertaken a tour of 30 countries as a visiting professor. How did it contribute to shaping your overall intellectual prowess? Obviously, it might have contributed to your intellectual enrichment in varying degree, but let us just walk down the memory lane and know from you that how it contributed in shaping your.
Thank you very much. This is very interesting question. Sir, I have not visited 30 countries as a visiting professor. I have visited, 43 times I have gone abroad in academic connection, and I visited 30 countries in academic connection. But I have served as visiting professor only in 8 countries, or 8 overseas university, not 30. And some correction. And, but I have enjoyed best of the best fellowship, like Fulbright fellowship. I was working then at Cal State Long Beach. I would see how that contributed to my own enrichment and how it, expand my horizon of knowledge. So like a normal Indian professor, I had to deliver 34 lectures there at Cal State Long Beach. I handled a course changing children and childhood in changing childhood in South Asia. That's the course I offered to the graduate student there at Cal State Long Beach. That is the second largest university in the whole USA. And on the very first class, they call me like prop. Some call me my first name, Deepak, and some like prop. They said, where is your course pack? I said, what is that? And they said, you have to give us all the 34 lectures. It was a nightmare for me. That never happened in India. On the first, they asked me all my 34 lectures. Actually, I prepared 18. And then I said, allow me 7 days time and I will give you all my lectures. So my wife also accompanied me. And then I was working late in the night, and all the time I was feeling tense and nervous and, handling an overseas student from the second best university. It's very difficult. And so I completed the job within 7 days, but then said, Prop, you have not given us your time schedule. I said, what is that? No, you have to tell us on which day you are going to teach what. All the 34 lectures should be scheduled so that we'll come prepared. You have given us the course back, we'll come prepared and interact with you. Those are eye-opener. And then one student again said, Prop, you are not why are you not coming to the beach board? I said, what kind of question? Why this girl is inviting me to the beach? And no, sorry, I mean, it was again, I was surprised. Why this? So, sir, then she explains, sir, whatever you teach, you have to put that on the beach board. What is that? I said, beach board? Sir, we have all registered in the beach board and you have your access. So whatever you teach, you have to post that on the beach board, because the university was located in Long Beach. So I was not posting that on my, I thought that probably After my lecture, they will take like the normal system, but only those students have access to the beachboard, and from there they can download. See, these are all eye openers for me. And then I started realizing how lazy we are and how we take our student for granted. And then I also enjoyed another fellowship. That's also a very world-class fellowship. That is DAD fellowship. That happened in Germany. I said in a while, when I was Germany, I applied and I made a breakthrough in my career. So in Germany, they call it, that is not class. They call it seminar. Okay, so student, you have to prepare the student, and the student will make a presentation. And for preparing the student, it is solely your responsibility. And you have to introduce the lecture, and after 10 minutes, you have to hand over the lecture. It's 90 minutes, and the student will make a presentation. And your job, if the student presentation is good, that is your credit. And if the student will fail to make a good presentation, you are also responsible for that. Then after the student presentation, there will be a discussion. And all the student will put him question or put her question, and then the concerned student would answer the question. Where the student will fail, you have to do the rescue job, because it's a kind of hand-holding kind of thing. Almost he's or she's like an assistant teacher. And this seminar students presentation, it was a kind of eye-opener for me. So by the time he or she would complete her education, he is almost half teacher. So because everything, we are just like the facilitator. It's a kind of hand-holding process. And then the student will make the presentation. That never happens in India. And seminar presentation, that is very, very important. And they enjoy it, and I also started enjoying, because you have to spend, they will come and, sir, help me. This is my PPT, you check, and should I give you a demonstration? They take it very seriously. So our system is different. So now, when I came back, these are two of my experiences. And I was also in Denmark, and then I presented a paper, and I mean, it was a conference. It's not, the organizer of the conference got interested in my paper. Said, he calls me by my first name, said, Deepak, why don't you cut short the length of your paper and make it around like 15 pages, Time New Romans, double space, and, and, A4 size paper. I was carrying a floppy disk. It was in 1998, and that too, I took the help of one of my friends, and he did it for me. I was carrying a floppy disk, and then he said, he took me to a chamber. I found many people, scholar working in a computer lab. I gave a blank look. He said, what happened to you, Deepak? And then I said, okay, please come. Then he probably felt that I'm not very comfortable to work in a computer lab. And he said, he took me his chamber and said, I have a spare computer. Why don't you work? And then I said, should I reveal you the truth, Jens? He said, of course, you are my good friend. You must reveal me the truth. I said, I'm a computer illiterate. He said like this, look this way and that way, said, this is highly unacceptable. We have invited you to deliver 7 lectures. You'll get some money, go back to India, buy a computer. When you are in my campus, next time, don't say I'm a computer illiterate. So these are some sudden jerks, and those are kind of experiential learning. Now in my campus, now when I came back, and those kind of exposure helped me to be a self-made person. Now in my university, they call me high-tech professor. When I came back to Sambalpur University, because I started using high-tech, which is also, one of the features of NEP 2020. You should use high-tech. So I started using high-tech, and I brought those kind of innovation, how to involve student in making a good presentations, student presentation, those kind of thing. What I learned from my overseas trips as a visiting professor, and I started utilizing those in my own profession, and probably that helped me to excel a little bit in my own profession, sir. This
Thanks
is
a lot,
my
sir.
story. Yeah.
It was a great story, and as your honored self was disclosing or was just walking down the memory lane, one of the recollection quickly flashed in the mind. During my graduation level, one of our friends, he had gone for studies in ASEAN in some management institute in Australia. Now, when he addressed the professors as sir, everybody was giving him an awkward glance. So then, he checked with the students that where he went wrong. He was, everybody was calling them by the first name, as you mentioned. So then again, he went to Asian Institute of Management in the Philippines. And then he mentioned, addressed one of the professors by his first name. Again, he got an awkward glance from all his classmates. Then again, he went to ask the professor, he sought apology and intended to know where exactly he went wrong. Then, he came to know about the convention or the custom there that people called them, students called the professors as sir. So this is the sort of custom prevailing into different places, as you have very correctly said, and you enlightened our viewers as to the difference in approach, different in styles in two different countries or two different places. Thank you, sir. Now I am coming to a very, very important question. And yeah, I think that since you have an expertise in this, you are the best person to enlighten our viewers on all these questions which are coming in sequential manners. Sir, how new education policy serves the national ethos vis-a-vis its predecessor? I'm talking about the old policy vis-a-vis the new policy, and how new policy is globally oriented in terms of its various aspects and dimensions. Your take on this, sir?
Sir, thank you very much. We had one policy in 1986, and prior to that, we had one in 1968. But the flexible and innovative curriculum should focus on areas of community engagement, services, environmental education, and universal human values. Human values like Satya, what we call truth, Santi, what we call peace, Ahimsa, like non-violence, righteous conduct, what we call dharma, and then prem, what we call love, like love, and also like a service, what we call or seva. And also, it is very important to have that feeling of patriotism and nationalistic values. And also we should have a sense of national pride. And if those things are integrated to an educational policy, then that is the best one. And I find all these things, ingrained and integrated within new educational policy 2020. And that is why it is better than compared when I compare that to all the predecessors, like whether it is 1968 or 1986 policy. And I don't find those things in the old policy, earlier policy. So that's why the new policy is definitely better. And that's my overall impression, sir.
Thank you, sir. And here, my viewers, I would like to, I would like to contribute my own share of thought here very briefly, because I also, as our honored guest today, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab, has very correctly and unambiguously put forth that patriotism and nationalism should be integrated with, the education system, with the educational syllabus. I fail to understand that why, as students, we were, compelled to remember the names of Mughal emperors, but hardly, sir, our honored guest, sir, I would like to tell you also, at times I fail to understand that the people of India, do not even have the faintest of an idea as to who great Adi Shankaracharya was. But surprisingly and ironically, we all have been, compelled to mug up parrots like the names of all the Mughal emperors, those who were the destroyers of our society, like Aurangzeb, who converted forcibly millions of Hindus into Muslims. We have to remember their names as if their names were sacrosanct. This was really a very glaring anomaly, which our honored guest today has very correctly articulated, while dispelling the notion that all sort of, the vested interest that existed in the education system, existed in the polity, and thereby, muddied or, you can say, sullied the overall image of India. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for, for your great articulation of this. Now, coming to the next question, sir. Do you agree? Now I'm coming to a very important question, because you might appreciate few days back, or it keeps on happening every now and then. People, like Irfan Habib, Pankaj Jha, all these people, they keep on making all sort of accusations and allegations against the education system, because they feel that restoring the historical facts is, are tantamount to overall obliteration of the historical facts. This is their mindset. Now I ask you this simple question, sir, because you are an educationist. You have understood the new education model or pattern much better than the ordinary person. So, sir, do you agree with those who are alleging that the new education policy is distorting India's actual history and rediscovering a new one? Your take on this, sir?
Thank you very much for this question. Actually, we need to develop a new mode of historiography, linking it to the Vedic age. The idea is welcome, although it's quite challenging. I believe we need to archive and curate relevant historical materials for this purpose. We have to revitalize our ancient seeds of learning and redefine modern Indian education in the light of ancient pedagogic tradition. That's my idea. And okay, why history should start from 200 years? Why not from 1200 years? This is also a question. And I think that is why there is nothing wrong in relooking back and revisiting our history and trying to give it a better shape.
Thank you, sir. Here I would like to say one thing, because since you talk about 1200 and 1200 years and before, there are so many controversies you would appreciate. In a very famous book of Dani A. Palkiwala, India's greatest constitutional jurist thus far, he writes in We the Nation about Adi Sankara's being 1200 years old. Whereas in many of the books, there are inscriptions, there are descriptions that he is more than 2200 years old. So there are a lot of controversies regarding the birth of great Adi Sankaracharya, regarding the time that he walked on earth. So there might be so many discrepancies pertaining to era and age. So what do your take on this, sir?
Yeah, if the history has been distorted and that needs a revision. And but here one should be very careful while rewriting history or creating history, and this is a good. I mean, we should feel proud of our glorious tradition and past, but we should do it a very systematic and professional manner. Here, we should not be overcarried by our emotion, but when it is, writing textbook, it should be authentic, and we should make it very genuine. And I mean, scholars, there are many great scholars. So scholars should be engaged and to do research and rewrite, and if it is required that we should go back to history and revive some of our tradition, that's wonderful. But that should not be done hastily. That has to be done in a very systematic and methodical manner.
Thank you, sir. I am fully in agreement with you, because history should not be distorted or should not be concocted. More than distortion, it would amount to concoction if some sort of the fictions are being paraded or masqueraded as facts. As what you say, I am fully in agreement with you. Sir, we are coming to the very next.
Because sir, just a minute, sir, because there are many. I mean, our history is conjectural. There are many gaps, and those things are to be filled up, and many things are over projected, and many things have been undermined. So that is why probably it's important to engage, real scholar, and let them do brainstorming session and let them, do the correction. And this is a welcoming step, and I agree with this.
Of course, sir. Thanks a lot, because I'm also fully in agreement with you There should be no concoction. There should be a brainstorming sessions, no political affiliation or engagement, in case of the scholars who will be brainstorming and finally rewriting the history. Fully in agreement with your erudite thought. Coming to the very next question, sir, under the new pattern, a student can opt for major as well as minor at the graduation level, which hitherto we have at post-graduation level. Your take on this, how it is going to eventually shape the mindset of our students and contribute to their greater learning in their career prospects as well. Your take on this, sir.
Sir, it is quite sensible to have such a spacing. What has been mentioned in the new education policy, I think it coincides with the global pattern of education also. That's not exactly graduation level kind of thing, sir. This is what you said, like 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That is like the school and secondary education, because first 5 years we call it foundational stage, and that is between 5 years. Then the preparatory stage, that is for 3 years. Then we have middle stage, that is for 3 years, and then the secondary stage for 4 years. And this is nicely spaced and taking into the mental maturity of a individual or a young person. And this is I think it's a very good, and it some or other I find a coincidence with the global standard also of education. So a student requires a different kind of maturation at a particular period of his life, and that is why it has been spaced and it has been nicely done, and those things have been incorporated in the new education policy. I support this. And at the graduation level also, there is a lot of flexibility, like it could be 4 years, it could be 3 years, it could be even 1 year. So if it is 1 year, then the student will get a certificate. If it is a 2 year, the student will get a diploma. If it is 3 years, then the student will get a like BA degree, bachelor degree, and then at 4 years bachelor degree with research. And if he is bachelor degree of research straight, he can do PhD. And if he is joining also master degree, it is for 1 year or 2 years. So someone passing from bachelor's with research has to undergo 1 year master degree. And any student coming with a bachelor degree has to join like master degree for 2 years. So a lot of flexibility there. You see your time, sir. I was a student of science. So during my time, only I can read science subject. I was not allowed to read like history, political science, sociology, anthropology, because of the strict disciplinary norm. But now that rigid norm is no longer there. So even if I am pursuing graduation in science, then I can take political science or even humanities subject like English. So that flexibility will help the student to grow better, intellectually better, because there is a freedom, and that freedom was not there. So that is why I think this is a better system, and that's my take on this 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. And I think this pattern of education will contribute to student betterment, and the student will be more matured, and he will be exposed to different areas of life where he can bring innovation.
Thanks a lot, sir, because what you say will add to the intellectual values. And of course, I am fully in agreement with your articulation that hitherto the students who are basically, say for instance, who are pursuing science stream or commerce or arts, they have been only confined within their own domain area. But now the flexibility or the intellectual freedom will enable them to get an exposure into other areas as well, apart from their own core subjects. Thanks a lot, sir. I am absolutely in agreement with your views. Coming to the next very, very important question. Is the new education policy integrates India with the global education system? If it is so, your elaboration on the same. How does it integrate India with the global education system? Please, sir, your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, the rigor of the provisions of accountability, or you say transparency, or the quality assurance mechanism in this new education policy will result in quality education that can match the global standard. Now, global university can come to India and offer different kind of courses, and also there is also global investment, that is also foreign investment is possible. So foreign university can come and establish their center and they can offer degrees. Similarly, Indian student can go abroad and pursue their education in any countries they like, and any institution they like. But here, what is very important, the cost. And sometime what happens when the global university come to India and offer courses, they don't maintain the same standard. Suppose Oxford University in United Kingdom and Oxford University outlet in India. So Oxford University outlet India, they may be profit, they may come with a profit motive. We should be careful here, because the same standard of teaching will not be imparted. As Indians will feel that, okay, we have an Oxford outlet, but they may come with a commercialized attitude. So that is the point where we are a bit vulnerable. So we should safeguard the interest of the nation, and we should ensure that the overseas university who is coming to India to offer education, they should maintain the same quality what is being offered in their parent university. Otherwise, they may come to do a kind of business, and then we'll find ourselves at the receiving end. That's my take on this, your question.
Here, I would like to, since what you have said, that foreign universities will come, and of course, Indian universities, I would like to inform you that we have already had the privilege of hosting Dr. Shri Deepak Jain, sir. He also is a global academician, only Indian to have become dean in USA, Europe, and India. So basically, he had informed us on the same August platform that since he's also in the board of directors of Reliance Group, and Mukesh Ambani ji has invited him to come and form Geo University to contribute to the founding of Geo University. Whereas even the government of India is seeking his expertise for the proper implementation of Indian education policy. Now, coming to his observation and your own remark, I would like to ask you that if global universities are coming to open their shops here in India, as well as such corporate houses like Ambani's and Adani's, they too start opening their institutes, say at the higher educational level, what will happen to those who are at the downtrodden, who are the downtrodden class, who cannot afford such a high fee? That means, again, there will be an asymmetry, more asymmetry between the two classes. The one that is an elite class, comprising of those who can afford such higher education, and those who are at the languishing at the bottom of the social hierarchy. As what you have said, you are presiding over the destiny of such an institute which takes care of such students who are languishing at the social hierarchy. What will happen to them? They cannot prosper much under this system where corporate will take over the education in its own octopus-like grip. Your say on this?
Sir, I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. This corporatization will increase the cost of higher education phenomenally. That's my feeling. The US is a shocking reminder of that. I don't need to labor this point. I had an institution, like Kalinga Institute of Social Science, which provides education along with other facilities like free lodge, board, and healthcare, absolutely free of cost to 30,000 children. So, not that all private players will do like that. We are also a private organization, and our case is completely different. And sometimes I feel if also we allow one corporate agency, that should be from India, and the global overseas educational institution, I have a doubt they may not maintain the same standard. But if it is someone from India. And here the government of India must ensure that equity is being maintained. Even student of my university should get a place there because they have received free education. They cannot afford the cost of higher education. So that kind of privatization or corporatization is risky. What is happening to US? And many Indian students, they are going and they are trapped on their wrong footing. Their parents are also feeling very bad because it's very difficult to afford such education. And we should be careful. If the cost factor should be constantly monitored, otherwise our marginalized children coming from marginalized community, those who are underprivileged, they will not get access to that education that is available in India. Accessibility and availability, these two are different things. So that quality education would be available in India, but our student will not have access to that. So we should be a bit careful. And you are very right. This needs to be curbed, especially foreign universities coming to India and offering courses. I don't have some reservation because I live. Odisha is a economically backward state, and we should be careful. We should give priority to our student, and we should plead for them. So it should not further raise the gap between haves and have-nots. And let not the children from affluent family and affluent society take advantage of this the so-called expensive institution. So there should be some kind of regulatory mechanism where also they have to provide education at a very subsidized rate to also the children from the underprivileged caste. Then I will agree. And let us encourage this. But if everything will be in terms of paying capacity, then the underprivileged children will be left out and they will never take the benefit of that kind of education. And I consider education is a third eye for the underprivileged children. If you want to see a developed India, then we have to provide education to the downtrodden children, and their communities should be, the gross enrollment ratio should increase. And all these things is possible when, education, quality education at a very cheap price or free of cost is provided to those kind of children. So that is why excessive privatization, I have my reservations.
I am absolutely in agreement with you, sir, because we all know this. That this is not an open. This is an open secret. I would say that corporate today is moved by profiteering. The sort of altruistic mission that you have, your institution has for serving the people who are really languishing at the bottom of the social hierarchy. These corporate houses, they don't have such motto. They absolutely, they are guided by the profiteering. Even I don't use the term profit. I am using this term profiteering. So in that situation, I have this apprehension, I have the skepticism that in fact this education, all the regulatory mechanism, what you have been talking about, I'm in agreement. But with so much influence of corporates, corporate has begun dictating and dominating all walks of life, what sort of regulatory mechanism will be there? Even if on theory, on pen and paper, if it is there, that will be easily set aside with a sort of rat race again, which will begin as Geo University is going to set up its shop. Adani Group will also follow suit. Some other corporate house will follow suit. Once again, education will fall casualty to a tremendous amount of discrimination. That is my skepticism, which you too agree with, is indeed an anomaly. I would say a very prominent anomaly in the entire education system. What do you? I think you have already spelled out your views on this. Is not it, sir?
Yes, yes, sir. We should be very careful, and this needs further scrutiny and examination. Without that, we shouldn't proceed further. I entirely agree with you.
Because I'm also in agreement with you, Odisha, Bihar, even West Bengal, these states, the majority of population in these states cannot afford such a exorbitant fee for higher education. So they are likely to suffer a tremendous amount of discrimination. And as you have very correctly said, the gap between have and have not will just spiral, or will just rise exponentially. Absolutely, this is the fear. You very validly agree with me. Thank you, sir. I am coming to a very next important question, sir. Under new education system, vocational studies henceforth will get a greater weightage. Do you consider it as a revolutionary stage? Your take on this, sir?
Sir, yes. My answer is yes. And by 2025, 2025, at least 50% learner through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. It has been stated in higher education policy NEP 2020. And there should be, they have suggested many kind of vocational education. One is like the begless period, sometime during grade 6 and 8, where the student will go to the school without bags, and they will be engaged in different carpentry work, gardening, pottery, and then artistic work. And, that we have already started doing. I said somewhere in passing that we have already engaged some professor of practice. Professor of practice is a unlettered person having fair amount of, not fair, great traditional wisdom, traditional knowledge. So he would come to our campus, or she would come to our campus, stay here for a month or so, and he will be paid, of course, and then he will spread the traditional knowledge, wisdom, but to the student. And that is how we will revitalize the ethnic tradition, tribal ethnic tradition also in our KISS campus. And we have already identified, and as soon as our student come back to campus, now there is no student, we are going to invite those professor of practice, and this professor of practice will inculcate those ideas and transfer those traditional wisdom to our student, and we try to revitalize their tradition. And similar thing is possible, because you look at the traditional system of learning in our ancient India, it's a learning process. It happens in a natural way, in a natural environment. And you see the classroom situation, it's a tight environment for which every kind of learning, there is an adult leadership, and where children are viewed as not yet human being, not yet knowing, not yet responsible, but they are human being with their own, rights. And hardly they are given opportunity to voice their views. But to look at the traditional system, where the children start learning things in a very playful manner, and whenever the child would commit mistake, the parents, either of the parents, should help. It's a kind of facilitating the process. It's a hand-holding kind of thing. It takes place in a natural way. So slowly the child would develop expertise in a manner, in a playful manner. But the classroom situation is very difficult. That's why we are also thinking in our KISS DIV case, we are trying to promote organic farming. We are trying to promote like the herbal garden, where the professor of practice, who is an expert in that field, will help our student identifying different type of traditional plants, and the student will get knowledge also. What are the spinach, and what are the tubers they collect from the fruits? All those kind of training we plan to provide to our student with the beginning of this new session. Therefore, I think this vocational education, and it's very important that we should not distinguish between vocational education and like the academic stream. And the higher education policy, as you know, there is no hard separation between curriculum, extracurricular, co-curricular, like arts and humanities and science. So these are all overlapping things, and therefore vocational education is a very welcoming step. Particularly, I have already shared my ideas how we are planning to have our own KISS model of holistic and multidisciplinary education, and how we are linking that with the KISS model of sustainable tribal development. So we'll try to inculcate, we'll try to pass on those skills that is in the form of transferring appropriate technology, so that when they go back to their environment, they are not birds with broken wings, they are not misfit in their own environment. Rather, that vocational skill, traditional, knowledge they have acquired, that will help them to start new kind of startup in their own environment.
Great, sir. Actually, when you have been unfolding the vision of your school, of your university, all of a sudden, I just my mind visited the great, the memorable stanzas of Gurudev Tagore, that is Gitanjali, where great Gurudev says, where the world is not broken into the narrow fragments of into the narrow domestic fragments of narrow, where the world is not broken into the fragments of narrow domestic wall, where the knowledge is free, where the word comes from the depth of truth, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. Sir, your pioneering vision that you are implementing, and you are a part and parcel of that pioneering vision, where the knowledge is free. The words that will come out of the students definitely will be only based on Satyameva Jayate, that is, the priceless stanzas of Mandukya Upanishad. So great to hear. You scintillated our program today. Last question before I pass it on to Shri Surendra Pathak ji, for it just quickly, means translating into Hindi, sum up into in Hindi, and once again he will pass it on to me for conclusion. Last question, sir. For such a scintillating discussion, you enlightened all of us with your holistic vision and the sort of great deed that you are executing at your university. I would love to visit your university, because you already aroused a lot of curiosity and excitement in me, and it will be a privilege, a divine privilege, to visit your university, sir, in the immediate near future. This is a very important question. Last question I would like to ask you, sir. That with now both AICTE and UGC will be merged as per the new education policy. Does the elimination of dual authority, dual command, and constitution of the single authority augur well for the higher education? Or do you think that it is not going to be a very conducive step for, in view of the overall metamorphosis that the educational system has undergone? Your say on this?
Vivekanand ji, this is a very tough question, and but my take on this would be like a creation of for the Higher Education Commission of India, what we call HECI, is a welcoming step, presumably with a single chain of command. However, some built-in mechanisms should be there to allow a liberal space of various deliberation of a broad set of ideas before formulating any policy. So if it is a single chain of command and a policy will be formulated without consulting different stakeholders, that is the point where we may go wrong, and wrong seriously. So that is why, that check and balance should be there. And there is nothing wrong, but the problem here is the coordination between state and the center, because education also finds a place in the concurrent list. So if the state government will not allow, will not cooperate with the center, it's very difficult to implement it. So even if we have 5 pillars of like authority, and there is a central authority, it's fine. But at the same time, there will be some structure also at the state level. So if there is a lack of coordination, and now it has been promised to invest 6% of GDP. It was 1.7% in the past. Now there has been slight improvement, but spending 6% when the whole nation is passing through the pandemic COVID-19 is uphill task. But we should not be pessimistic. We should be optimistic. And this single, when excessive centralization is not good also. Decentralization is sometimes But when we make decentralization, there is also one thing, that is dilution. Along with decentralization, we find also dilution. You decentralize and then there will be dilution. When you centralize, you monitor and coordinate and you maintain the quality. So both are, my answer would be yes, no. Yes, if it is properly monitored and executed. No, if there is a dilution. Thank you very much, Vinodji, Vivekanand.
Thanks a lot, sir. Actually, very correctly, you have said that education being a, means it has to be in the concurrent list, because state government's consent or approval is sine qua non, because central government cannot do everything all by itself. Now I am passing it on to our, the esteemed professor, the representative of Shri B.R. Ambedkar University, Dr. Shri Surendra Pathak ji, for his, translation into Hindi in gist as to this particular interview, and then he will pass it on.
Can I take 1 minute, sir?
Please.
Vivekanandji, 1 minute. You would be happy to know that recently we have got a chair professor of Dr. Ambedkar, chair professor. So because this event is being, hosted by B.R. Ambedkar University, so we have got a B.R. Ambedkar chair and a chair professor. So that is how KIS University is linked with also B.R. Ambedkar University. That is the link. Thank you very much.
Great, sir. Yes, Dr. Surendra Pathak ji, please.
जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपको। सबसे पहले तो कांग्रेचुलेशन डॉक्टर B.R. अम्बेडकर चेयर के लिए। मैं डॉक्टर B.R. अम्बेडकर यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ सोशल साइंस महू में कंसल्टेंट हूं, मैं नेक और मीडिया का, और उसके अलावा मैं गुजरात विद्यापीठ में एडजंक्ट प्रोफेसर हूं। गुजरात विद्यापीठ जो महात्मा गांधी ने स्थापित की थी। मैंने आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी के बारे में बहुत सुना था, लेकिन आज पहली बार सुनने को मिला, और जिस सरलता के साथ आपने बातों को रखा है वो बहुत प्रभावित करने वाला, दिल को छूने वाला है। मतलब कोई व्यक्ति ऐसे भी हो सकते हैं कि गरीबी से और भुखमरी से मुक्ति कराते हुए अज्ञान से भी मुक्त करने, और ये कोई फेलोशिप नहीं है, ये एक संकल्प है। हजारों विद्यार्थियों को आपने सुलभ कराया है। आपके जो फाउंडर हैं सामंता जी, उन्होंने इसको सुलभ कराया है, उपलब्ध किया है। मुझे लगता है कि ये बहुत सारे लोगों की प्रेरणा है। कलिंगा यूनिवर्सिटी, किस यूनिवर्सिटी के नाम से जिसको लोग जानते हैं। मैंने आपके पूरे वक्तव्य में न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के बारे में सुना, और आपने ये भी बताया कि जो पिछली 2 पॉलिसीज थी उनकी तुलना में ये जो नई न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 आई है वो काफी बेहतर है। और साथ में आपने ये भी कहा कि इसमें ग्लोबल स्टैंडर्ड को मेंटेन करने के भी प्रोविजन है, और साथ साथ ये जो इंडियन ट्रेडिशन है, सनातन परंपरा है, वैदिक परंपरा है, उससे भी लिंक करने का प्रयास जो है इसमें किया गया है। आपने स्कूल शिक्षा के बारे में भी बताया कि किस प्रकार से जो स्ट्रक्चरली जो है न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में चेंजेस आए हैं, और बहुत सारी जो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है वो अवेलेबल हुई है। जैसे आपने कहा कि 1 ईयर डिप्लोमा, 1 ईयर सर्टिफिकेट, 2 ईयर डिप्लोमा, 3 ईयर डिग्री, और 4th ईयर जो है रिसर्च का प्रोविजन जो है वो किया गया है। मल्टी पॉइंट एंट्री और मल्टी पॉइंट एग्जिट का प्रोविजन है, स्कूल में भी है और हायर एजुकेशन में भी है। तो मुझे लगता है कि आपने सही ही कहा कि न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के माध्यम से कुछ बड़े प्रयोग हो रहे हैं। विवेकानंद जी ने बहुत ही अच्छे प्रश्न आपके साथ किए, हिस्ट्री को लेकर भी उन्होंने प्रश्न किया, और उन्होंने इस बात की भी और ध्यान दिलाया कि AICT और UGC यदि मर्ज होते हैं तो आपने उनके जो उत्तर दिए, मुझे लगता है कि वो उत्तर बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि आपकी संपूर्ण अभिव्यक्ति जो है बहुत सहजता से, सरलता से, एकदम बिना किसी पूर्वाग्रह के एक सटीक प्रस्तुति जो है मुझे देखने को मिली, और शायद यही एक प्रोफेसर का एक्सपीरियंस होता है, और इसीलिए आप 4 विश्वविद्यालयों का नेतृत्व आपने किया है और कर रहे हैं। और मुझे लगता है कि आपको सुनने के बाद ये विश्वास हुआ है कि और भी प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स हैं या यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, यदि वो इस प्रकार का संकल्प लेके आगे आते हैं तो भारत को गरीबी से और अज्ञान से, अशिक्षा से मुक्त किया जा सकता है। उसकी संभावना और उसका एक मिनिमम ब्यूटीफुल मॉडल जो है वो आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी ने समाज के सामने प्रस्तुत किया है। मुझे लगता है कि जो बड़े प्लेयर्स हैं, मैं प्लेयर शब्द का उपयोग कर रहा हूं, जो बड़े कारपोरेट हाउसेस हैं जो शिक्षा में आए हैं, उनको किस यूनिवर्सिटी से प्रेरणा लेना चाहिए और सीखना चाहिए जाके कि किस प्रकार से ये पॉसिबल हुआ है। मुझे लगता है कि मैं भी एनलाइटेंड हुआ हूं, और नई शिक्षा नीति के ऊपर जो आपने बात की उसमें कुछ तकनीकी मुद्दे भी थे, स्ट्रक्चरल भी मुद्दे थे, पाठ्यक्रम को लेकर जो बात आ रही है वो भी थी, क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग कैसे डेवलप करने की बात है, और उससे एक ग्लोबल स्टैंडर्ड को मेंटेन करने की बात जो है वो आपने बताई है। मुझे लगता है, और मैं भी न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी को पढ़ता रहा हूँ, उस पर मेरे व्याख्यान होते रहे हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि आपकी जो मूल्यांकन है न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के ऊपर वो काफी सटीक है, सही है। मैं आपसे कोई प्रश्न नहीं पूछना चाहता हूं, लेकिन मैं ये चाहता हूं कि आपके इंस्टीट्यूशन को विजिट करूं, और जो डॉक्टर BR अम्बेडकर यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ सोशल साइंस है उनके साथ कोलैबोरेट करके यदि कुछ हम लोग प्रोग्राम कर सकते हैं तो उसके लिए मैं आपसे चाहूंगा कि आपका सहयोग हमको मिले। हम भी ट्राइबल एरिया में हैं, महू में, तो वहाँ कैसे इस मॉडल को इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकते हैं, मैं चाहूंगा कि हमारी वाइस चांसलर के साथ आपकी एक मीटिंग हो और आप उनको भी बताएं कि ये प्रयोग आपने कलिंगा यूनिवर्सिटी के रूप में कैसे सक्सेसफुल किया है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद विवेकानंद जी। आप यदि कुछ कहना चाहते हैं तो कह सकते हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
सर मैं विवेकानंद जी, मैं 2 शब्द बोल सकता हूँ?
प्लीज सर, प्लीज।
सर सर प्रोफेसर सुरेंद्र साहब जैसे बताएं कि वो चाहते हैं हमारा साथ MOU करने के लिए, सर हम तो आभारी हैं। सर आप आइए, हमारा ये जो विश्वविद्यालय को आप आके घूम के जाइए, फिर हम भी वी वुड लाइक टू विजिट ऑल्सो आपका महुआ में जो है, हमारा तो अम्बेडकर चेयर अप हो गया, तो हम भी उनके साथ जुड़े हैं दिल्ली में, तो आप भी आइए। अम्बेडकर चेयर के लिए हमारा अभी तो एडवर्टाइजमेंट होने वाला है, हम इंचार्ज प्रोफेसर चेयर बनाए हैं, तो वो वही एरिया में हम MOU कर सकते हैं। आपका भी अम्बेडकर चेयर है, हमारा भी, आपका यूनिवर्सिटी का तो नाम अम्बेडकर है, हमारा अम्बेडकर चेयर है, और वही एरिया में हम काम कर सकते हैं। एंड वुड बी वेरी हैप्पी टू प्लेस आवर मॉडल बिफोर योर वाइस चांसलर। आप आके देखने से सर वो अच्छा लगेगा। आप हमारा जो सक्सेस स्टोरी है, काइंडली विजिट ऑल्सो आवर वेबसाइट, एंड आप आने से हम आप सामंत जी के बारे में तो बताएं, आप जानते हैं शायद, और आके आप मिलिए तो हम कुछ करेंगे सर, मिलके करेंगे। विल डू समथिंग गुड फॉर द सोसाइटी एंड द मार्जिनलाइज्ड कम्युनिटी, डाउन-ट्रोडन पीपल। वी आर कमिटेड टू दैट सर।
महू अम्बेडकर जी की जन्मस्थली है।
हाँ हाँ,
जहाँ हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी है, और नेशनल
हमारा जो रिसर्च प्रोफेसर है सर, प्रोफेसर ईश्वर चंद्र नायक, हम बोलेंगे कि आपको घूम के आने के लिए, आपसे मिलेंगे, फिर आपका वाइस चांसलर से मिलेंगे।
यस यस, वी वुड लाइक टू वेलकम।
Sure, sure, sir.
Great that we on such an august platform that is Shastrartha on education pe charcha. The talks between two erudite people, especially concerning some sort of MOU to come up, that itself speaks about the importance, the significance of this spectacular show that is Education Pe Charcha, and that is on Shastrartha. My dear viewers, today we have already heard, we have had the privilege of showcasing one of the topmost vice chancellors who has sought to transform the landscape of one of the most backward areas in the country. And that he is a source of inspiration for one and all. My dear viewers, in on coming Saturday, we are going to have a very, very esteemed guest, another esteemed guest, Dr. Rajesh Misraji, who is also, a dean of 4 university, institute of, that is, you can say like university, regional institute of education. He is the dean of 4 institute, and most importantly, he is the educationist on Urdu. He has done PhD in Urdu. He had done from Banaras BHU as well as graduation in Urdu. So it would be a wonderful interaction that how a Brahmin, Dr. Rajesh Misra, developed such an interest in Urdu, because he is developing into an Urdu scholar is the vindication of the fact that language belongs to no religion. It is transcendental. And therefore, even we speak in English, Hindi, Urdu, whatever it does not belong to a particular religion. That is the message we are going to send it from Education Pe Charcha, from this August platform, Shastrartha, on the coming Saturday. So, and meanwhile, today we have had a wonderful, interactive, engrossing session with the Honorable Vice Chancellor of KISS. And he has said, he has created a chair in the name of Ambedkar ji, that is our constitutional forefather. I am so much thankful to you, sir. I gladly welcome all this. And of course, we are looking forward to future interaction with you also. Thanks a lot, my viewers. Again, returning you back with a commitment to meet on next Saturday. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar for illuminating today's show.